Hi, everyone. Welcome to Planet Grape Wine Review. My name is Catherine Follis, and I was the fifth woman in the world to become a master sommelier. Today, I'm here with writer, educator, and certified sommelier Fred Swan of FredSwan.wine, who is also one of my panelists at Planet Grape Wine Review. And we're here to talk today about an amazing winery in Napa Valley. And that winery is called Shafer Vineyards. So let's talk about that. And it's an honor to be here with Fred. And there we are, Shafer Vineyards. So there's a picture of the original barn on the property, and then John and Doug, the winemaker in the middle, Elias, the property, and then the dog. Of course, every winery has to have a winery dog, right? What's his name, by the way, Fred? Do you know the doggy's name? I forgot.
Sorry.
Oh, speaking of pets, there's a cat.
I have a winery cat.
So the winery was founded by John Shafer. In 1972, John purchased a 209-acre property in the Stag's Leap district above Silverado Trail in Napa Valley. In 1973, John taught himself to drive an old TD9 tractor. In 1974, John planted Cabernet Sauvignon, creating small hillside vineyard blocks. And you'll hear the names TD9 and Hillside in the upcoming wines that Fred will talk to us about. Doug Shafer arrived in Napa Valley at age 17, a teenager, when he moved with his family from the Chicago suburbs in 1973 to a new home in the rugged foothills of the Stag's Leap Palisades. And Doug has shared with me some stories of being a teenager coming from a big city to the middle of nowhere and all the trouble that he could get into at that young age. But one of the things that happened is that he started helping his dad, and he really fell in love with working the land, working in vineyards. Elias Fernandez has been making wine at Shafer Vineyards for more than 30 years. He works side by side with John and with Doug, and he's played an integral role in forging a style of boldness and elegance that has been embraced by wine lovers throughout the world. Should we talk about the wines, Fred?
Great. Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you, Catherine. As Catherine mentioned, these wines are all essentially coming from the Stag's Leap District AVA in Napa Valley. Stag's Leap District is in southeastern portion of the Napa Valley AVA. And the vineyards are largely on what we call the bench. So it's the lower slopes of the Vaca Mountains. And those areas are very volcanic in nature. The soil is very rocky. And the area is also somewhat cool relative to northerly Napa Valley because it's closer to San Pablo Bay, and it also gets a little bit less rainfall than the western side. And the result of all that, which we are going to see in these wines, is that the grapes are smaller, much more concentrated, with thicker skins that are more deeply colored, more deeply textured, and deeply flavored. So what you're going to get with all three of these wines really is a lot of intensity and a lot of aging potential as well. The first wine up is the Relentless. It is a Syrah wine, but it's not 100% Syrah. It is a field blend with Petite Syrah. There's 14% Petite Syrah in this wine. All those grapes are coming from a vineyard that is belonging to Shafer, but is actually not quite in the Stag's Leap District AVA. It's just slightly south over the border, but the terroir is essentially exactly the same. It's a ridgetop vineyard with stony volcanic soils.
So similar to kind of what's behind you, but a little bit further south?
Exactly, yeah. The photo behind me is actually a photo of Shafer Vineyards Winery, and the vineyards that you can see are those that actually go into Hillside Select, which we'll be covering at the end of this presentation. That's 100% Cabernet, but it looks almost identical. It's just, you know, a couple miles south of there, basically. So similar terroir. This Syrah is actually, like the other three wines we're going to have, is something that you might not expect from Napa Valley in general. We tend to think, or people tend to think about Napa Valley red wines as being intensely fruity. These wines have a very distinct savory aspect to them. So the Syrah is opaque. It's purple in color because it's quite young. It's a 2017. And as you can see from the slide, actually, the notes are very savory. You get clearly that black cherry fruit on the nose. It's like a chewy black cherry, and it's very fetching. But that is thoroughly surrounded with these other notes of dark chocolate, plus really typical sought-after aromas for Syrah, the leather, the cured meat, the black cherry. And then on the palate, there's charcoal, which is coming largely from the oak and garrigue, this sort of dry herbal character we find a lot in Syrah.
So the garrigue is like dried herbs from the south of France.
Exactly.
Brush,
There's
resin.
herbs as well as actually lavender in there, so it has a bit of a floral kick to it.
Wow, sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's really, really good. The wine is full-bodied. As I say, it's powerful. It has, as you can see from the slide, alcohol that's right up there, but it is quite well balanced by all the fruit, all the texture, and all those savory notes. This is a wine that you can certainly drink right now. It is also a wine that will age for, I would say, at least 15 years, but 8 to 15 is pretty reasonable.
8 to 15 years, okay.
This wine, along with the, I'll just talk about it now. This wine, along with the other two that we're going to taste today, is a wine which I would say cannot be hurried. And what I mean by that is you can open it now and you can drink it, pour it in the glass and drink it. You can let it evolve in the glass for, over the course of a meal. You can decant it for an hour or so, but that's not, the decanting is not going to make a big difference. And I can tell you that decanting it for 24 hours is not going to make a big difference. This is a wine that you should enjoy now or whenever you'd like to open it. But don't bother with extended decanting. Just open it, pour it, and enjoy the heck out of it.
And when you say decant, Fred, you mean just for getting oxygen into the wine, not for sediment, just for aeration.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. This is a wine that's going to benefit from the sort of long-term aging that wines do in a non-oxidative fashion in a bottle in a nice, cool cellar. But just pumping it full of oxygen right now, it doesn't have any meaningful effect on the wine.
Great. Okay, so we'll stash that one away and come back in a little while. And then the next wine, the TD9. Okay,
yeah. This is a relatively new wine. Of course, it's a new vintage, but this is a relatively new wine as well. 2017 was the first vintage of the Shafer TD9. These wines are blends. They're Bordeaux variety blends, of course, but they are Merlot-centric. So this particular wine is 56% Merlot, 23% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 21% Malbec. Most of the fruit comes from Shafer's estate vineyards, and they have several, and in that general Stag's Leap district area, but a little bit of the fruit also comes from Yountville. That's things they source that just kind of round it out and add some great character. And this is a wine that I think is an exceptional value actually for Napa Valley. I mean, it's only $60, and it is really quite a nice wine. It's a very serious wine. Again, it's got those savory notes. Getting especially the grilled aspect, the leather, and then plenty of black fruit with even a little bit of red fruit. And there's a very distinct sort of ferrous iron note on the nose as well.
And the plush texture is it kind of readier to drink earlier?
Yeah, that's a great question, Catherine. Yes, this is, of these three wines, it is the easiest to drink right now, or the readiest, and it will be the one you want to age the least. It's certainly super accessible right now. You might age it up to 8 years or so. I wouldn't go too much beyond that. As opposed to the other two wines, which are full-bodied and quite robust from a tannin perspective. This wine is only, I would say, medium plus in body, a little bit lighter on the palate, and the tannins are softer, and there's just less of them. It's got plenty of structure. It's super well balanced for what it is. But again, think of it as a savory Merlot blend that is, pretty much ready to go.
So is this something I would open up if I had a couple friends coming over for an outdoor socially distanced dinner, maybe over the weekend?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I would certainly, be sitting in the shade because we don't want the sun beating down on our wine. I hate when that happens. But yeah, it's been warm lately. But yeah, no, it's definitely good, and it's light enough that you could do it with a lunch or light food, or you could drink it without food as well. But it's certainly got plenty of intensity, and it's robust enough to hold up to a steak if you want to grill one or something like that. Maybe
Yeah, I was going to ask, could we
just
do something barbecue, or do we need to do more of a refined kind of?
I think barbecue would be great. The one thing I would caution on that, and I would do that with most any red wine, frankly, is that I would avoid sauces that are either very sweet or very spicy,
Okay.
because the sweetness tends to sort of cover up the fruit in any wine, and the spiciness doesn't react very well either. But, yeah.
That's great advice, Fred. Thank you. So finally, the Hillside Select. Wow, what a wine.
Yeah, I am very fortunate because I've had the opportunity to taste these for many years now. And already back, 15 years ago, I tasted a 10 or 15-year vertical of Shafer Hillside Select. So with Doug and Elias. So I have a lot of experience with these, which again makes me a very happy camper and fortunate person. So this one really is the flagship of Shafer Vineyards. This wine is always 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. It comes from several vineyard blocks, which are in, again, the vineyard area generally you see behind my head there. And it is a wine that can age easily 20 years. But John Shafer actually liked to drink his wines relatively young, and these are wines that are also purposely made so they can be accessible pretty much right away. It is definitely full-bodied. It's definitely a rich experience. It is not. It's not one of these wines that's going to punch you in the jaw or anything like that. Though it has for its weight and intensity and elegance to it. Drinking super nicely right now, actually. Again, full-bodied, that very fine, velvety, short nap velvet texture, mouth coating, plenty of fruit. I somewhat surprisingly, perhaps this wine is actually a little fruitier than even the Syrah right now. Super great balance, and it is, it's absolutely ready to go. But what it's going to do over the next, again, 5 to 20 years is just develop more complexity. The tannins will refine, soft slightly, they'll get more elegant on the palate. So you're not losing anything by drinking it now, but what you gain over time is a little bit of complexity, maybe a little bit of subtlety, and then some new notes.
So if we can wait a couple of years, you're saying we're going to enjoy it even more.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think your kitty cat agrees with you.
Yes. Sorry about that. He's got a lot to say about this particular wine. Yeah, and you can also, if you have a Coravin, you can sort of take a little 1 ounce pour out of it now and just check it out, see what you think.
That's such a great idea. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we can check it out now, and then maybe a couple of months from now to go back with the Coravin and.
Exactly. You can do that, or, you know, try it and give it a couple of years or what have you. Yeah, absolutely. You know, not everybody has had an opportunity to taste older wines, so you never quite know what you're going to get if you haven't had experience with tasting them before. And certainly, everybody's not necessarily going to be able to buy a case of this wine so that they can just open one per year. If you can, hey, I
Right.
would go for that, because that is a good call. Um, you know, and the Shafer wines have really a great pedigree. I mean, this particular vineyard, as Catherine mentioned, planted in 1974, the Cabernet. Already in the early 2000s, 2003, Robert Parker called Shafer one of the best wineries in the world. The Relentless, the Syrah, was a Wine Spectator Wine of the Year a few years ago. So, you know, these are all serious, serious wines, but really, really enjoyable.
Great. And this is a great kind of a brand to invest in. It's got pedigree, like you said. They've got incredible longevity if you want to have some great wines in your cellar. And you know, it's just a very nice family. And Elias is super sweet as well, and been there forever. I mean, it's a nice visit if you can do that when things kind of get back open and to normal.
Yeah, they're
Um,
actually taking appointments now. They've always been open only on weekdays, but they have two sessions every weekday. It's by appointment only, so
Great.
that's available. And I would also say that they're very involved in sustainability. They care a lot about that, so they're being responsible in their growing, which is great too.
Excellent. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Please like our video, please subscribe to our channel, and write us some comments, just good wine or we loved Fred, because everybody loves Fred. And come check out our wine review website. We thank you very much, and we will see you the next time. Bye everyone. Thanks, Fred.
Sure. Is that okay even with the cat noises? It adds character, right?